our main course, main entree today is Chrissy Ballard with BNI. Chrissy is amazing. She's a local Tucson native. I've only had the pleasure of interacting with her a couple times, but honestly, literally every time I walk away, I'm like, wow, there's so much to learn from this person. So I'm really excited that she's here today to talk to us about how to be better networkers virtually. Since we are stuck in this virtual world for at least a while yet, I know I have a lot to learn of how to, how best to represent myself in my business. And I'm going to let her tell us more about herself and get right to the meat of things. So Chrissy, take it away.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today, Melanie. Thanks for, flexing and running the slideshow for me. So, I'll say next, I guess, and we'll just move through it. You are seeing a little bit about me on the screen right now. So you see BNI SoZona, obviously that's what I do. Those are the 6 counties we cover. More importantly, why we do it, my grandkids are the ones sitting in front of my Christmas tree that actually got put up in my own house for the first time this year, which was amazing. Beside, you'll see my husband and I, and that is actually the founder and chief visionary officer, Ivan Meisner. Ivan and his wife, Beth. Unfortunately, we did lose Beth last year to cancer. It was very sudden and very quick. But amazing people and a fantastic organization. I said I loved it to travel. You see Bill and I with the, Eiffel Tower lit up. I like to think it was for me. It was my 50th birthday. It was gold. So I'd like to think that it definitely was for me. You'll see in the middle, that's my daughter, my son-in-law, my mom and dad, and then the zip lining in Thailand, my daughter's down below. You might say Bugs Bunny. Well, if you want to know the story, I played Bugs Bunny for Warner Brothers back when they came to the Tucson Mall. So if you got a picture with Bugs Bunny, it was probably me. And then my pool team. So I shoot on an 8 and a 9 ball league, and we actually won the city championship and went to the World Pool Championship. So again, something fun that I like to do. Probably my favorite picture on here is the 2 gentlemen. The gentleman on the left is my former husband, Craig. My grandkids are in the middle, and the person on the right is my husband, Bill. We have a fantastic blended family that I am very, very thankful for. And so I always like to start off with that. All right, so let's talk about networking like a pro. Next slide. Networking like a pro. How do we network like a pro? Well, I have to give credit where credit's due. Dr. Ivan Meisner, actually, he's known as the father of modern networking by CNN, wrote a great book. It's available on Amazon if you'd like more insight into the topic. It's not about BNI. It is about networking. How do we network effectively? All right, so take a look at that. Next, what is networking? What do you think networking is? And I'm a chat person, just so you know. So if I ask a question, I really do want an answer. Yes, I have some answers on my slides, but I'd really like to hear from you. What do you think networking is? And I'll take just a minute. Anybody?
Connecting.
Connecting. All right, fun times. Yep, absolutely. Relationship building. I love it. All right, so you guys want to know, I'm sorry?
Remembering each person you meet or make a significant impression on each person you meet.
Ah, I love it. Yes, yes. Meeting new people, connecting, learning about others. All right, so let's go to the next slide and read the very awesome Webster Dictionary. Webster defines it as the informal sharing of information among people who have common interests. That is boring, isn't it? That is boring. All right, so let's go on to the next one. Here's what Ivan says. Networking is about forming and nurturing mutually beneficial relationships, which brings you new connections with large numbers of people, some of whom may become good customers. All right. He also goes on to say, so next slide, probably one of my favorite quotes. Networking is simple. It's not easy. If it were easy, everyone would do it and they would do it well. So funny story, when I came into this organization over 17 years ago, I thought I was a fantastic networker. I really did. And then I got some education and I realized I just talk a lot, and that is not networking. Actually, it's two different skill sets that a lot of times don't go together. All right. So here is what I believe to be true about networking. Next slide. I really believe that networking is about relationships. How, when, and where we form those relationships is what this workshop is about today. And I realize that the world looks different than it did a year ago, but I don't think anything's changed when it comes to building relationships. We may have to work at it a little bit harder because we don't get to see each other like we did, right? I loved what Stephanie said. I miss hugs, right? Yes, I'm with you. We may have to work a little bit harder, but I still think all of the same things apply, all right? So next slide. When we start out to grow our networks, usually we're interested in making them broader, right? So we have more connections, right? So I loved the analogy of the tree, right? There are some trees that they do not have those deep roots. There's a lot of them, right? Lots, very broad, a lot of connections. So let's talk about the next slide. I believe that when it comes to making our networks actually work for us, they need to be deep and they need to be strong and profitable. We want our networks to be like that deep rooted tree. So obviously smart people in the room, when I asked what networking was, there were definitely some of you that said, build relationships. I believe fundamentally that that is how we build strong networks, by building relationships. Next slide. I believe that relationships are currency. How many times have you attended a networking event? Be real. You meet a bunch of really good people, you leave and you never talk to them again. Anybody? It's only me? All right, we do that. Was it because we didn't like them? We didn't like their Zoom background? We didn't like the color of their hair? No, let's be honest. It's probably about the fact that we're busy. We cannot even remember what we had for breakfast, let alone reconnect with people that we just met. What does it take to connect with those people? Next slide. I think busy is great, but I really don't love the word. I don't really like the word because we could all say we're busy, right? We have to understand that networking is going to take some time. New contacts are where future business is born. It is not about the quantity of contacts that we make. It's the ones that we turn into lasting relationships. If we do not turn our contacts into relationships, the likelihood that we'll receive business is not very high. It's just not very high. So think about this. How many of you love cold calling? Anybody? So nobody on my screen is raising their hand and jumping up and down right now. Maybe there's usually one or two of you. God bless you. All right. I am not that person. But let's just say you made 10 cold calls. You introduce yourself. How much business did you get? Probably none, right? But what if you took the time and you called 5 people that you already know? And you tell them, I'm putting together a marketing plan for the year, and I really could use your help. Do you have a referral? Is there somebody you might be able to introduce me to? You think you're going to get different results? Why? Well, because you're asking the people that you already have relationships with to help you, right? So the chances are pretty good that the majority of these people are actually going to want to help you. Next slide. So we're going to talk about 4 quick tips to deepen relationships with people that we already know. Deepen to the point where they might be willing to help you out in the future. All right. Next slide. Number 1. Sounds silly. Give your clients and customers a personal call. Now especially is more important than ever to connect with people. People need to feel like they're a part of a community, right? So give them a call. Find out how things went with the last project that you did. Ask if there's anything else they can help. You're not asking for a referral at this point. You're just giving them a call and seeing if they need anything. All right. Now, is that going to take some time? It is. And yet I think it's important. Tip number 2, make personal phone calls to all the people who have helped you or referred business to you. Ask how things are going. Learn more about what they're doing so you can refer business to them. Again, making those personal phone calls. Now, some of you are like, how does this have anything to do with networking? Oh, this is networking because this is building the relationships. All right, building the relationships. Tip number 3, put together a list of 50 people that you would like to stay in touch with this year. It can be anyone who has given business to you in the last year or prospects that you connected with recently, and send them a card. Next national holiday, not necessarily a religious holiday, but just send them a card. Or it doesn't necessarily even have to be on a holiday. How many of you have received more cards this year? I'm gonna raise my hand. I have received more cards this year than I have in the past. And it's just the handwritten thank you. Hey, I'm checking in on you. That makes a huge difference. And it sets you apart from your competition if you're the one that does this.
You know who's amazing at this, Chrissy? And I'm sure you know this, but Stephanie Rising has an amazing note card game and she always makes me feel special. And she's not here today, so shout out to Stephanie Rising.
She is, sure I know. She and I talked about that, and she was like, I can't believe I'm not going to be there on that day. She does. She has those cards go out. The other one, I guess I'm going to give kudos to the Stephanies today. The other one is Stephanie Kidder. I haven't known Stephanie Kidder very long, but I've already gotten one card from her. So yeah, reaching out again. You open that up, and there's just something about the way a personal touch makes you feel. It just makes you feel important, okay? All right, tip number 4, 2 weeks after you send the cards, call, see what's going on. If they're past clients, you talked to them before, now you could probably ask for a referral. If they're prospects, you could set up an appointment, meet for coffee, tea, do a Zoom meeting, right? Just have a conversation, take the time to get to know them. All of these things are steps that are going to build your social capital. And I love that somebody put social capital in earlier, right? Social capital, which is the international currency of networking, especially business networking. All right, next slide. So I'm going to give you another definition because I know you guys are just on the edge of your seats waiting for these. Social capital is defined as the accumulation of resources developed in the course of social interactions, especially through personal and professional networks. These resources include ideas, knowledge, information, opportunities, contacts, and of course, referrals. So how do we build social capital? How do we build that? Let's take a look. I think it's TLC. We build our social capital with a little bit of TLC, teaching, listening, and contributing. So let's talk about teaching really quick. Teaching is an art. The good news is that we don't actually have to be the most outgoing or the life of the party to be a phenomenal teacher. How many of you are passionate about your business? Anybody? Love what you do. Love what you do. Well, that's the first step to teaching. You have to believe in what you're doing. So when you're at functions, when you're in breakout rooms, right? Be sure you know what you want to say about you. When someone asks you, what do you do? What do you say? Are you listing a bunch of things? Or are you just sharing with someone, this is why I love what I do. These are the types of people that I love to help. If they hear your passion for what you do, they're going to remember you. They're going to remember you. All right, on to listening. This is a simple concept that many business professionals do not grasp. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And when we're networking, we need to use them proportionately, which means we're listening twice as much as we're actually talking. Remember how I talked about my idea of networking before I got BNI educated, I like to say. When you ask questions like, what line of work are you in? Tell me about your business. Tell me about something you love about your business. What if when we were in networking functions, we didn't say, so what do you do? We asked, what do you love about what you do? That's a different way to answer, right? It's just a different answer. It feels different. What about if we asked, how can I help you? Can you imagine what the business world would look like if we all approached others with the how can I help you attitude? Think about the last time someone used those words when speaking to you. How did it make you feel? If it's been a while, talk to somebody today. Listen to what they have to say about their business, and then simply ask them the question, how can I help you? You may be surprised to see what happens. All right, teaching, listening, contributing. When we have taught other people a little bit more about what we do, we listened to them about their business and asked how we can help. It leads us right into contributing. Now, rather than defining contributing, what are some synonyms? Strengthen, reinforce, supplement. We have to enter into business relationships with the mindset of what can I give, not what I can get. Share your time, share your talent, treasure those connections. Take the time. All right, next slide. So listen, guys, networking is about farming, not hunting. Anybody been to the networking event with the business caveman or woman? You guys know what they look like? You know, the professional that's looking for business very aggressively while carrying a very big stick, and you feel bopped over the head with it. They're scoping out the room for the next big sale, trying to find out who the big wigs are, who they need to talk to. We like to call them networking hunters. I'm going to tell you, I don't think this works. They may get their card into more people's hands, but I think the card gets thrown away more often. That you get spammed on an email list all of a sudden. How many of you love that? With no opt-out feature? My favorite part of networking, by the way. Said no one ever. All right, well, let's leave the cavemen behind and see, what about farming? Farming for contacts means we're actually focusing on the relationship itself, right? Rather than what we can get. Our result of what we can get is getting to know the person. So the farmer plants the seeds, nurtures the crops, takes the time. And do the relationships grow? They do. Does it take a little extra time? It does. But are they better relationships? I would say yes, all the time. The attitude that lets people see we care, it just opens up a different conversation. Our conversations are longer. Our connections are better. When someone says, I really need more contacts, we can say, well, what if I could put you in front of a couple of people? Would that be helpful? Well, yeah, of course. Well, that's when you invite them to the chamber. That's when you connect them with a couple of key people in your room, right? Those are the people. When you find out how you can help somebody, if you make one connection, what could happen for that person? Remember that contributing leads to the law of reciprocity. Next slide. Reciprocity is the center of relationship networking. It's just often misunderstood. Again, another Webster's dictionary definition, a mutual or cooperative interchange of favors or privileges. Like when actions taken for the benefit of others are returned in kind. This leads many inexperienced networkers to expect an immediate return for any actions they take on behalf of another. Giver's gain, right? Wrong. Think of it this way. The first word in giver's gain is givers. Givers. It's important. It signifies that the act of giving is the first and most important part of the principle. It does not mean that every act of giving will be immediately rewarded by the recipient. All right? When we create benefits for others, we're creating strong relationships. Choose the abundance mentality rather than the scarcity mentality. Giving to others, you might not receive it right back, but it will come, I promise. You ever thought of giving business to someone whose business is similar to yours? I know what you're thinking. Chrissy, why would I give business away? Doesn't really even make any sense. Well, what if there's someone that you know that's in your line of work that actually loves a piece of the work that you hate? And you gave that to them as a referral, and you actually got to work more on the type of the business that you love. What would happen? You think the possibility is that they're probably going to give you more business that you love? Because it might not be in their wheelhouse. We just don't ever know. So I want to share a story, all right? There was once a farmer who grew award-winning corn. Each year, he entered his corn into the state fair where it won a blue ribbon. One year, a newspaper reporter interviewed him, and he learned something interesting about how he grew it. The reporter discovered that the farmer shared his seed corn with all of his neighbors, all of them. He said, wait a minute, how can you afford to share your best seed corn with your neighbors when they're entering corn in competition with yours every year? The reporter asked. Well, sir, said the farmer, didn't you know? The wind picks up pollen from the ripening corn and it swirls it from field to field. If my neighbors grow inferior corn, cross-pollination will steadily degrade the quality of my corn. If I am to grow good corn, I must help my neighbors grow good corn. He was very much aware of the connectedness of life, right? His corn couldn't improve unless his neighbor's corn also improved. I think this is life. I think this can be business, even in this crazy world that we are living in right now. Those who choose to live in peace, looking at that abundance mentality of how we can share, those who choose to live well must help others live well. Those of us that want to have success must help others create success. So I loved the story. I loved the story. Next slide. So I'm finishing up with just some different kinds of networks. All right. So let's talk about the different kinds: casual, knowledge, online, and strong contact. All right. Let's start off with casual. General business groups. They usually allow many people from overlapping professions. They usually meet once a month. People mingle. It's fairly informal. One of the primary examples is the chamber. You guys come together, you connect. They may not be specifically driven for referrals. However, referrals do happen, right, within these casual networks. Well, how do they get created? Well, those referrals are created typically by people that are more involved in the chamber. on an ambassador committee or on the board or involved in committees. And guess what? I know this is going to be crazy. You guys might want to sit down. You need to show up. All right. I know it's crazy. When you show up, people see your involvement. And it's amazing what happens when your time is invested wisely. I believe that these casual networks absolutely can create business. And there's a lot of other things out there. There's the Better Business Bureau, ASBA, NABO, lots of other casual contact networks. Let's move on to knowledge networks. These are professional organizations, community service clubs. Their primary purpose is the exchange and information of ideas, right? Well, for professional groups, think about joining an organization that represents an industry other than your own. All right, so example, the home inspector probably is going to want to join the Women's Council of Realtors, right? Because the people that they do business with are in the room. I would also say we can ask our current clients what professional organizations they're involved in. That helps, all right? When we become friends with those people, again, the referrals do come. It's just a different type of network. That's it. So get involved in some knowledge networks, Rotaries, Kiwanis, Toastmasters, financial planners associations, lots of associations, especially here in Tucson. All right, online. Online is even more important. We have some people in the room that are fantastic at this. This is what they do, right? This is where we get to share to a broader scope of people. The key to success with online networks is outlining a strategy for how often you're going to work on the social media. Or better yet, just hire somebody that's what they do and they can be a rock star and then you can put your time in elsewhere. That's what I did, all right? It works really, really well. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I'm sure I'm missing like 16 other ones that are now out there. Don't be surprised though, that this again is a network and it's a place to create possible relationships, all right? So just be aware of that. The last ones are the strong ones. Typically, these organizations are completely driven about business and exchange of referrals. Most of them meet on a weekly basis, and they're classification specific. So you're not in the room with your, with your competition. They provide highly focused opportunities for us to begin developing those referral marketing campaigns. And the relationships that are built become strong because they see each other every single week. Lots of examples, LaTip, Business Leads of America. Here in town, we have the referral tree. We've got Tucson Business Connection. We've got BNI. There's a lot of those. So there are a lot of different, online, a lot of different networks that you could be involved in. So you have to determine the right networking event for you. You got to figure out who are my best prospects, all right? Like, who are the top 3? And then you got to find out where they are. What events do they go to? What organizations are they involved in? And go visit, all right? Small business prospects, spend some time at a chamber of commerce, right? A local business association. Remember that if you know who your customers are and you know where they are, now you have the language to know what to ask them, how to communicate with them, and possibly help them. And you may in turn receive benefit back. Next slide. So remember, relationships are currency. Build the relationships carefully. Don't go hunting for your network. All right, plant the seeds, cultivate the relationships, teaching, listening, and contributing. And when you create benefits for others, they do come back. Make sure to diversify your network. Don't just be involved in one place or one space, all right? If you want to get more, you have to be more first. If you want to get more business and more customers, you have to be the type of business that attracts those people. They recommend, that you network sometimes outside of your comfort zone. All right. And I want to, let's see, next slide. Top 7 characteristics of a great networker. Be a good listener, have a great attitude, be collaborative, be sincere and authentic, follow up, be trustworthy, be approachable. And then I'll end with a positive quote. I just don't believe that, next slide. Oh, other way, next slide. There you go. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. So thanks for giving me the time today. I hope it was helpful.
Chrissy, that was so helpful. Seriously, everybody, this little silent round of applause is amazing. It's kind of a trip, honestly, since can't hear anything. Honestly, that was